Hello everybody, welcome to this special presentation. Today we have the honor to host Mr. Trent Mell, CEO of Falco Pacific, Falco Resources. Falco Resources is for the third time that they're coming to the show. So today Falco Resources, if you take a look at this company, it's staying within a clear sideway formation. The entry point on that stock is at 58 cents. So right now we're at 54, not too far away. That will be a clear entry point on that stock. So Mr. Mell is there to talk to us about what's going on with Falco Resources and why that company should be your potential next investment. So Mr. Mell, thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Let's talk about something that a lot of reviewers like about your company, the fact that you had Osisko as a major shareholder. Now Osisko has been acquired by Yamana and Agnico Eagle. So how has this changed the participation or the relationship that you had with Osisko?
Yeah, it was flattering to us because when Osisko made the decision to sell the Malartic mine, they took certain assets, they rolled it into Osisko Royalties, and we were one of the chosen assets. They had an 11.1% holding, that's now with Osisko Royalties. They've got a good, strong technical team, so I take that as a good endorsement for our project. Okay.
So if I understand right, Osisko technical team is also helping you guys in your project?
Well, they're shareholders. I think there's probably an opportunity to leverage that. We haven't done so yet, but I'd certainly welcome any insights. Okay,
but so how do you see that you could benefit for the relationship of Osisko? Talking of is it only on the technical side, or do you also exploring some financing opportunities with Osisko?
Yeah, right now we benefit from having a pretty good shareholder registry. Our top shareholder is actually Goodman, out of Toronto, so a good, smart resource investor. We've got Osisko at 11%, and we've got the QMX mining group at 9.8%. So I think it's a good register. We listen to our shareholders. We take the input that they offer. We don't have any kind of strategic relationship with Osisko Royalties at this point. But they know the camp, and I know the people. I know Sean Roos, and I know it's a small mining community. We all know one another. We talk. So the insights are always welcome.
Excellent. Now let's talk about the 43-101. Because on Horne Mine project, you just released one in March, if I remember right. So you also mentioned that you want to update that. Tell us why and which new data are you going to add?
Okay, because coming in as CEO, my strategy really, I think, is one of discovery. It's not about building, it's not about developing. The real value creation for shareholders is in the early stages when you go into a new ground and you find ounces in the ground. So we had the benefit of having inherited 80 years of data from Noranda. Our first effort before I joined, I only joined a month ago, so the previous CEO and the management team spent the first 8 months and $500,000 looking through a historical database, which included 11,000 drill holes. 4,300 of those were analyzed, and we came up with this initial resource. We went back to our consultants in Ovexplo out of Val-d'Or, and we said, how do we move this forward? Because a resource, this is chapter one of a story that's going to continue to evolve. So there is a second iteration. There might be a third and fourth. Second iteration for me is to put confirmatory holes into the ore body. Because we use historic data, we didn't have current network. So what we need to do is 9 pierce points into the ore body. There's 5 higher grade envelopes we want to target. With that, we're going to get 3 things. We're going to upgrade, we hope, upgrade from inferred to indicated, and maybe even measured. Second thing we're going to do is improve our metallurgical understanding of the base metals. Zinc, for instance, we had an assumption of a 37% recovery, and yet the Agnico Rouyn mine down the road is getting over 80%. So you start assuming better recoveries, the resource gets bigger. Third piece is silver, which was never included in the historic assays from Noranda. They didn't test for it. If we do that, we think we could get 16 grams a ton included into the resource as well. So you roll that all up, what does it mean? Spend 6 months drilling, because these are deep holes. Precision is going to be important. You do the met work, you do your study, include your silver, new 43-101 by maybe next May, and I would hope to see a 40% bump in the tonnage if everything goes according to plan, maybe more, but time will tell.
So if I understand right, you're already starting this campaign, right?
Not yet. Right now we're doing our summer exploration program. So when you think of Falco, up to now it was proving a thesis. And the thesis was we're on the Cadillac Break. Everywhere from Timmins in Ontario to Val-d'Or on the eastern flank, along the Cadillac Break are gold camps. Rouyn, somewhere in the middle towards the east, has been ignored for 35 years because you've got a smelter on top and it's being run by people that are looking for copper. So as all these gold mines were being reinvented, rejuvenated, discovered, we've got this massive land package controlled by a little junior called Falco that's had very little work. So the strategy for us was to prove the gold thesis, which we did at the historic Horne Mine. Meanwhile, we've got 728 square kilometers. So proved it there. Now my role is to keep moving that one, keep growing the resource and growing the story around Horne, while also setting our sights on the rest of the package, which has 13 other former producers and just a wealth of targets that we need to look at.
Now, two questions here. For the campaign that you just mentioned to do the metallurgical study of the ore there, how much you think it could cost? Because you only have about $3 million in cash, so how much you think it could cost?
Yeah, we have, so we finished the last quarter with about 5.6 million, but we've been spending through the summer. We had a 2.2 million summer field program, which is well underway. We do have $500,000 coming back from the government in tax credits and another $1 million in warrants that we recently accelerated. And that actually speaks to why the stock price came down recently. I should come back to that. So you roll that all up, so 2.2, the other piece, this confirmatory program is $2 million. So all said, about $4 million, a little over $4 million from about 7.1. So the cash is okay. As a junior, you got to find ways to finance, and my objective is not to dilute shareholders, it's to create value. So on a higher stock price, maybe you finance, but there's other options. When you look at a package the size of ours, joint ventures, sales, strategic opportunities. To me, I'm a deal guy. I've done deals my whole life. M&A background, financing background. So I think we got to be creative about how we find the next money.
But so if I understand right, to do this metallurgical study on that Horne 5 project, you're not closing the opportunity to have another partner coming in to help you guys do it, right?
No, because ultimately, Falco, with our market cap and our size, we're not builders. My view is that the more we discover, the more value we're creating. Mine development and construction is a long process, and it's an expensive process. In our current form, there's no way we could do that, but I think we have pretty strong conviction there's something there worth pursuing. And if we can continue to grow this and increase our understanding, then maybe at some point somebody will come in and work with us or take it off our hands or whatever the future might be. We're not going to get in the way of progress.
So you mentioned the Horne 5 project. That was your the flagship project of the last CEO. Since you came in, your focus has been on expanding not only to Horne 5 but to other portion. Is there a particular portion that you're going to focus on after Horne 5?
Right now we're doing a bunch of assessment work across the property, and so this fall and winter we'll start to prioritize our targets. But right now our top project is probably the Rivière Mouilleuse project, which
there was a drilling just started.
We just started, yes. We call it Remo. It's a little easier to pronounce in English. Remo, what's interesting there is it's actually not a gold target. It's a VMS target, we believe.
What does that mean, VMS?
The VMS, it's a volcanogenic massive sulfide, which would be a very common host for copper and zinc. Horne is a VMS system. It just happens that it's the most gold-rich VMS system the world's ever seen, so it's a little bit unique. But it was initially viewed by Noranda as a copper mine. And yet it produced 11 million ounces of gold. So what we did is we looked at the rock types that the Horne Falconbridge had. They looked at the rock types at Horne. They looked at the rock types in the rest of the camp, and they identified Remo as having the most number of similar distinct rock types. Problem is they didn't find any conductors. The stratigraphy there is different. The Horne, which was once flat, is now almost vertical. Remo is still fairly horizontal. So when we did our own geophysics last year, we found a bunch of conductors that were never before seen. We're drilling them right now. If we see any encouragement around sulfides, we'll keep the drills going and hope for the best.
Excellent. There's one question here from Arnold. Arnold is asking us, what are your biggest challenges for the project, and what are you doing to face them?
Well, the biggest challenge I think right now for me coming in as the new CEO is telling the story. When we had a resource, we had a big run up in the stock last spring until the resource came out, and then the big drop that followed, because the questions we got from a number of folks is, okay, when do you start building? No time soon. We're going to grow this thing. We're going to do our second iteration next spring. Once that's done, we've identified 11 new zones around Horne. We've got our Horne West. We've got the Mell mine to the north. There might be an opportunity to do a third iteration. So when you get into resource estimation and drilling and discovery work, you always want to grow and grow and grow. So my objective there is to add tons. But the story that I have to tell, and it gets tricky, because once you say that we're going to keep growing that, I've also got 700 other square kilometers to look at with full of targets. So I need to prioritize and be very careful with how we spend our dollars and leverage an 80-year database, paper database that we have finally digitized from the Noranda years. It's spitting out all kinds of opportunities, and so we need to understand as a team where are we going to focus. It's Horne 5, it's Remo, what next?
But so are you going to be more aggressive this year for your drilling campaign?
I think we were a little more aggressive. We have been with our $2.2 million program. So then the question is, once we've done that, what do we learn, and do we get even more aggressive for our next program? And my head of exploration, Mike Byron, he's got a great balance of sort of academia and industry. he was very careful with how we spent our money because he didn't want to go drilling until we had targets. As we get smarter and we have more targets, then at some point you do have to ramp that up in order to surface the value that you know is there, because if we don't do it, someone's going to come along and do it for us.
Okay.
So.
And in terms of the similarities, are there some similarities between the Horne 5 project and other projects in the area?
We like to, we like to look to, there's a couple of things. We like to look at the Rouyn mine, which is now down to over 3,000 meters. What we delineated, the Horne mine itself only went down 600 meters.
Okay.
The Horne 5 starts at about 600, 700 meters, goes down to 2,300. So it's not that deep. But what we're seeing is a bit of a transition to lower grade base metals. The gold dropped off, and we think it's picking up at depth. And my understanding is that that would mirror a lot of what has been seen at Rouyn through its history.
Okay.
So we're inspiring our views on that with Rouyn. Now, from a development perspective, what's different today that didn't exist when this mine was shut down 35 years ago is our mining techniques. So I was previously involved with Rico Gold. We built the Young-Davidson mine at Kirkland Lake. It's got a reserve grade of about 2.8 grams a ton.
Okay.
Our gold equivalent grade here is 3.4. So when I look at bulk mining, we've got the widths, we've got the strike length, we've got some good grades, and if you look at Goldex, you look at Young-Davidson, you look at Rouyn, you've got 3 modern underground bulk lower grade mines by historic standards that are making money. And I think there's a lot of similarities that we can learn from.
Okay. Recently, you just came 1 month ago to the company. What's your vision for Falco Resources? Do you see yourself as being just a company that acquire projects, make them look good, make the resources, increase the resources, and then find a buyer? Okay, folks, this is the best project I have. Or do you see yourself eventually, through the history, because you're building the resources now, to eventually become a producer, like the next Gold, the next Quebec story?
I think the worst thing we could do would be to hang a for sale sign of the company and say, come and get us. So we have to keep advancing the story. We've got no shortage of targets to do that. Having said that, I mentioned earlier, we don't fashion ourselves as builders or developers. But you still got to keep advancing the project. You got to go from your drill bit, your intercepts, to a resource, from your resource to a preliminary assessment, to wrap some economics around it, and start looking at other opportunities. We'll keep moving the yardsticks. We'll keep finding ways to create shareholder value. I think the best way to do that in the next couple of years is going to be discoveries, not just at Horne 5, but elsewhere. And as we keep telling our story, keep proving that Rouyn-Noranda is every bit as prospective as Val-d'Or and Larder Lake and Bousquet and Kirkland Lake, I think that's going to start to generate a lot of buzz around our story.
I think so. Now for a viewer that has been looking at your company, because it's been the third time that now Falco Resources is coming to our studio, but for a viewer who has been looking at this company but was not yet participated, is not yet a shareholder, what would be like 2 reasons you will tell them why he should consider Falco Resources as his next investment? 2 reasons.
Okay. Well, one reason that I would point to is we just 2 weeks ago announced that we were accelerating some warrants that were deep in the money. We had a right to call them, and we did that. I would argue that's what brought our stock price down over the last couple of weeks. The expiry date on that exercise is 2 weeks out. So I would hope that that's created, people are going to sell to exercise their warrants. It's created a bit of pressure on the stock. We knew it would. I think that overhang will be out of the way soon. And then on the back of that, we've got a bunch of news flow coming out, summer program. We'll have news on Remo coming out in the very near term, and then we've got 6,600 historic holes outside of Horne 5 that we're analyzing. We've got to start releasing information around that, and then we'll start the drills going on the confirmatory drilling for Horne 5 to get the resource updated. Excellent.
So I wish you a lot of good luck with all this big project, Mr. Mell. I think you have a lot on your plate. So we definitely look forward to hear back from you whenever those results come by.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.